over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram, lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Well, hey, everybody. It's Dave Brown with the Victor Tango Show, welcoming you here this evening. Thanks for joining us an hour later today for an exception. I really appreciate that. Today, we are going to be speaking to Jason and Heidi again. Esterbrook, we had on just a few weeks back. Just want to talk through some stuff about VA process and maybe get some information out there for all you veterans and veteran families on how to apply for VA healthcare. So let's see if we can get Jason and Heidi on. Hey guys, how we doing?
Good, Dave. How are you?
We're doing good. A little tired today, but we'll make it through it. So,
Great.
You know how it is. Got to run all day, get home,
Been
try
there.
to scarf some food down, and then try to do the show.
You got it.
Right. So today what I'd like to do is just kind of, why don't we start talking about this first? Did you know when you got out of the Marines that the VA was a huge organization that had many different entities inside itself?
When I got out, I honestly didn't know nothing about the VA. Yeah, I don't remember being told about it or anything. I mean, it's just something I learned as we went. People talked to us, and would tell us, "Oh, you ought to go to the VA. You ought to go to the VA," and that's how we ended up going. I mean, it's nothing that the military told us, about. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you're hearing go to the VA, go to the VA, go to the VA, you're thinking going to the VA hospital, right?
Right. Yes, that's the only thing we knew about was going to the hospital.
Never thought of disability or anything else that would be part of the VA, right?
Didn't even have a clue. Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't either.
I was too young. I didn't know nothing about it. We were just trying to live.
I have a feeling if you're like in for years and you're an officer, you're in the system for years and years as active members, I have a feeling there's a different system that they give out to them as an exit strategy to let them know where they can get all this stuff or have it already filled out,
Maybe.
but I have a feeling enlisted men that only are in for a few years, and especially war veterans, the grunts, the, medics, the whatever, are probably not given any information generally.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably the case for our generation of people who served. That would probably be accurate. And I see through when I was a veteran service officer that people would come and see me after they got out or retired, and they would have information already because they had somebody who'd gotten out before them that they would still talk to them as they were going through the rest of their service and would give them some of the tips on what to do. But for those of us that were getting in and out, between 17, and 23, 24, 25 for the average of age for all of us, we didn't know how to do that. We didn't know the steps. We didn't know that. We just had a 1 hour, I think it was, brief about VA has benefits. And really nothing in depth or any of that. That's what I remember. What do you remember, Jason?
Yeah, I really don't remember anything about the VA. It could have been talked about. It's just something that probably wasn't on my mind. Didn't think about it. Didn't think it meant anything to me. You know, at the time, I was healthy when I was getting out. I was, perfectly fit. Everything. We just, yeah. And the way I got out was on a hardship discharge. So they actually sent me from my unit, which was 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines. They had actually sent me to Gowan Field here in Boise, Idaho, or up in Boise, Idaho, that is a reserve base. So, I just really didn't get a lot of information.
Right.
Yeah.
And you weren't really seeking it either. I mean,
No.
you just wanted to get out and move on with your life. That's what I was like.
Yep.
So
We were ready.
let's dig into this a little bit. So I want people to understand that there are different things that the VA offers, and they all fall under the umbrella of the VA. But the first thing I want to clarify is that the Department of Defense, which is the great overlord, for a lack of a better word, over the military, and the Veterans Administration, that these two organizations don't communicate to each other. So when you leave the military and you EAS or separate, that information isn't automatically given to the Veterans Administration, that you will be coming to them, or that you are there waiting for benefits or any of that type of stuff. So for the Veterans Administration, as the veteran, you have to prove that you are entitled to benefits through the VA. And this is an old law. This is how they've had it for a long time, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And I really wish that they would get these organizations the ability to be able to communicate to one another so they can make it easier on the veteran when it comes time to getting out and needing support for their life and for what's going on with them in the world. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If they provided a way to know how to go through the system, when Brian Tracy was on your show and he talked about sitting at the Boise VA for 3 days straight trying to be seen and
angry,
and then not going back because he doesn't know how to work through the system. And, there's no one there to really help you and tell you what to do. I think some older veterans had talked to me when we were trying to go through the same problem, and sitting up there all day and not being seen and told to come back the next day. Well, that didn't work for us. And my wife, she's a pit bull when it came to that. And she made sure I was
did get angry at one point in time and had to. One lady was saying, she goes, well, it's all over. All your tests are done. And I said, no, we were told we need to do this, this, and this. And she says, nope, sorry, you're done. It's time for you to leave. And I said, no, because there's specific things that he needs to be evaluated for. I said, please call this lady, because that's who told me. So she's arguing that she was not even going, she's an administrator, so she was not even going to do that. And I said, I am not leaving until you call her. So then she called after she's throwing a fit, and he's telling me to calm down, and I don't care at this point. And finally she called this lady, and the lady said, yes, he's entitled to this, this, and this. And I hear her say, okay, fine, gets off the phone, and she's slamming things around. Granted, this is 20 years ago,
right. Almost 30.
Almost 30 years ago, but it got him exactly where he needed to be. And thank God there was that lady that was telling me, no, do not leave here until he has seen for all of it so it can be put on the records. I mean, how do you battle that?
Right.
If
you
he's
don't
telling
know.
me to calm down because he's the nice guy that doesn't want anyone to be offended, and I'm the, I'll apologize later, sorry for my mouth, type.
Right.
And it got us in there. And again, I have to trust that God's going to lead us. And
but the problem is if you don't, I have that support system,
yes.
with my wife. Well, if you're the veteran that's trying to muddle through the system
By
yourself, or your wife's not involved, you're probably going to be looked over. And
the soldier's trained to not buck authority or be rude to women, or, I mean, there's a lot going on that a soldier can't handle. And if there's mental issues,
right,
someone almost needs to go with them. But
now that was granted 25, 30 years ago. It could be
obviously
different.
Brian had issues too, because
Well,
I would have gotten up
it was the same,
and I would have dealt with it.
With Brian, it was the same.
There's no way I would have been back 3 days in a row.
But today it could be a little different. I do believe with my son-in-law, who was in the Army, he was a medic in the Army. When he got home from the war and was getting out, they did actively involve him with the VA and everything, and he was already service connected upon.
Well, he had a therapist that was really backing him.
Yeah. So it could be different today than what it was before. It takes one person
to do their job correctly and know the navigation of it, and that's who you need to find. And it could be a receptionist, it could be a therapist, it could be, I mean, you just have to cling to the people that actually
care.
You can tell that want to do it right.
Right. Yeah. It's not just a paycheck for them working at the VA.
Exactly.
They actually want to take care of somebody. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you on the VA's website, va.gov, for anybody who wants to look at this later. You can look at all this information at va.gov. But I'm going to share their website here, and then I'm going to go through some of the stuff on here, and then we'll go through it together and have a little bit of conversation about it. So just hold on a sec. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Is the screen shared yet? There it goes. And then here we go. So first thing that I want to talk about is VA health care. I don't want to get this confused with anything else that has to do with the VA that is around applying for VA disability benefits or VA pension or VA home loan or death benefit or any of those other programs that veterans are possibly eligible for. What I want to talk about is just the specific to VA healthcare. What does it take to apply those types of things? So I'm sure this would be useful information when you got out, huh, Jace?
Oh yeah. We didn't have a website then.
No, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
What was his name? Vice President Gore. He hadn't created it yet.
That's right. He hadn't. Thank goodness he did. Yes.
So how do I apply for VA healthcare? So here it breaks it down for you. And then it tells you how do you prepare for your application. First thing they want you to do is to find out if you're eligible. So let's click on that and see what it says about eligibility. It says, am I eligible for VA healthcare benefits? You may be eligible for VA healthcare benefits if you served in the active military, naval, or air service and didn't receive a dishonorable discharge. If you enlisted after September 7, 1980, or entered active duty service after October 16, 1981, you must have served 24 continuous months, or the full period for which you were called to active duty, unless any of the descriptions below are true for you. The minimum duty requirement may not apply if any of these are true. You were discharged for disability that was caused or made worse by your active duty service, or were discharged for a hardship or early out, or served prior to September 7, 1980. If you're a current or former member of the Reserves or National Guard, you must have been called to active service by federal order and completed the full period for which you were called or ordered to active duty. If you had or have active duty status for training purposes only, you do not qualify for VA healthcare. Does that make sense to you guys? So basically what it's saying, if you served after or entered service after 1980, 1981, you have to have 24 consecutive months of active duty service. And that's active duty service of actually doing your job. This doesn't include the time that you were in the military, that you went through boot camp and then you went through your schooling to learn your profession, the job that you'll be doing in the service, your MOS, military occupation specialty, your rating, as they say in the Navy. So those don't qualify as active service. That's active duty for training. It's not regular active service. I just want to clarify that for people so they have a clear understanding of how the VA looks at that. Now, when you look at your discharge, it says, what should I do if I received an other than honorable bad conduct or dishonorable discharge? If you received one of these discharge statuses, you may not be eligible for VA benefits, but there are ways to try and change that. You can apply to have your discharge upgraded, or you can learn about the VA character of a discharge review process, where you can petition to have them review the stuff that happened and maybe make a change to that. Now, is there anything that will make me more likely to get these benefits? Yes, you may qualify for enhanced eligibility status, meaning you'll be placed in a higher priority group, which makes you more likely to get benefits if you meet at least one of the requirements listed below. At least one of these must be true. You receive financial compensation, payments for VA service-connected disability, were discharged for a disability resulting from something that happened to you in the line of duty, were discharged for a disability that got worse in the line of duty, are recently discharged combat vet, get a VA pension, are a former POW, have received a Purple Heart, have received a Medal of Honor, get or qualify for Medicaid benefits, served in Vietnam between January 9th, 1962 and May 7th, 1975, served in Southwest Asia during the Gulf War between August 2, 1990 and November 11th, 1998, and served at least 30 days at Camp Lejeune between August 1st, 1953 and December 31st, 1987. If none of these apply to you, you may still qualify for care based on your income, and then it's income based on how that works. So looking at all of that information, just to understand how you qualify, it still leaves a lot of gray area, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and then it's the tip of the iceberg.
Right. So that, but at least it's some information out there, so that at least somebody's getting something. So now, once you've determined that you're eligible, you gather the information listed below that you'll need to fill out on an application for benefits, which is the VA form 1010EZ. This is the information you're going to need: your social security number for you, your spouse, and your qualified dependents, your military discharge papers, which is your DD-214 or other separation documents. Now, for most of us, it is the DD-214. It's a discharge document, and it's a federal document. And most of us heard when we were from our era that you don't ever want to lose that document. So it's important for your whole life.
You need to make 20 copies.
Well, actually, what you need to do is you need to get, what are they called? Copies from a notary, or so that they're embossed, so that you have qualified copies, so that they'll accept them. Because a lot of times they won't accept them unless they've been notarized or something. Insurance card information for all insurance companies that you have. So if you have other insurance, whether it's TRICARE, private insurance, or something else, you need to have that. And they also need all your gross household income for you and your spouse and your dependents if they work. Now, your deductible expenses for the past year. Now, that would be what you paid for a deductible if you had health care insurance from a work plan or something like that. So you need to gather all of that information, because that's what they're going to use to qualify you. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, not really, but yes.
It does.
What part of it doesn't make sense, Jason?
Well, that you have to have all of that stuff just to prove that you're a veteran and need help,
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, the average person does not sign up for health care or to go into a hospital or a doctor's office to have to see if you're eligible to be seen. You know?
Exactly.
Well, they just need the ability to bill them too if they don't want to pay for everything if they don't have to.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. So it's a, how do I apply? So you can apply for the benefits right here. You can download the form and apply by mail. And on the form, it actually has this address for you to mail in your application to, so that they can make a determination on that. Or you can apply in person at your VA medical center or clinic, and they can make a determination there for you as well if you want to bring all that stuff in with you. So you can also do it with a trained professional, veteran service officer, and or somebody like that. Now, how long does it take for the VA to make a decision on this? They say less than a week. Well, that's that less than a week after they receive the application. So if you do it by online, that's going to be a quicker turnaround because it's online and they get uploaded into their system pretty quick. But by mail, depending on where you're mailing it from, it could take some time. If you do it by phone, it's automatically put in during that time, and then would probably go with the next day. And then with somebody trained professional to do it for you, it's the same as you doing it and mailing it in. So it's going to take some time. Once they get it, they'll have a decision within a week, and then they'll mail that information for you to let you know if you qualified, and then if you did qualify, what priority group you would be in. Now, what priority group are you in, Jason?
I don't know, honestly.
You don't know what priority group you're in?
No, don't think I've ever been discussed that.
I don't know either, actually.
Yeah,
You've
no idea.
stumped us.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you're a service-connected disabled veteran?
Yes.
Okay, what's your rating?
90%.
Okay, so for a veteran with 50% service-connected disability or higher, all of your health care can be provided for you by the VA. Everything. So you are in the highest priority. You're in priority group 1. So that means that they will provide everything for you that you need for your health. And that is where a lot of people would like to get to, is that 50%. And that's a number that the VA likes to try to stay away from, because once they grant 50% disability to somebody, that's free health care from the VA for the rest of your life. So now you can understand why there's so many obstacles into getting to that point, at least from if you were on the VA side of things, right?
Right.
And for the longest time, he was 40%.
And then the co-insurance would kick in. So you would have a copay, or your insurance would pay some stuff, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So with that, there will be copays if you're below 50%. If you're 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%, or even just service connected at 0%, you still qualify for VA healthcare because you're considered a disabled veteran, but then they will want your other insurance so that they can take both and be able to use both to take care of you. Now, if you don't have disability, then it's all based on income. And it depends on what state you live in and if you qualify for it.
And how many dependents?
What's that?
How many dependents too?
Correct. And how many dependents you have. And so there's formulas out there that we could get into, but I don't want to go that far into the weeds today on that. But the priority groups are set in place as to who qualifies and who gets the best care. And so, and what that care level looks like. And it's 1 through, I believe, 7 or 8 now. We'll look that up right now. Let's share again. Let's look up priority groups. Isn't this fun?
Absolutely.
And this also then can show people how they can do it at home on their own time if they want to research this stuff as well. Priority group 1, we may assign this priority. So here it is. It's 1 through 8. That was right. So the priority groups are set after they've assessed your service connected or whatever your status is. So to qualify for priority group 1, you have a service connected disability that we rated for 50% or more disabling, or have a service connected disability that we've concluded makes you unable to work, also called unemployable, or receive the Medal of Honor. Priority group 2, we may assign you to priority group 2 if you have a service connected disability that we've rated as 30 or 40% disabling. Priority group 3, we may assign you to priority group 3 if you have these conditions. You're a former POW, received a Purple Heart, were discharged for a disability that was caused by or got worse because of your active duty service, have a service connected disability we've rated at 10% or 20% disabling, or were awarded a special eligibility classification under Title 38. Now, priority 4, we may assign to you in the priority 4 group if you are receiving VA aid in attendance or household benefits. Now, VA aid in attendance is for homebound veterans who have people coming in to help take care of them, or they're in a facility being taken care of, and they have received a VA determination of being catastrophically disabled. Priority group 5, we may assign this to you if you don't have a service-connected disability or you have non-compensable. I try to say that 10 times fast. Service-connected disability that we've rated at 0 to 6% disabling, and you have an annual income level that's below or adjusted income limits. You're receiving a VA pension benefit or eligible for Medicaid. Now, all of these that fall below that, you have to have specific areas that you've served to qualify. And priority 7 is your gross income is below and you agree to co-pays. That's really where you get it. So those are the main ones that you want to know. But the one that you qualify for, Jason, is priority group 1 because you're 50% or higher. And so there's a lot of us that qualify that way through that. So,
and it can change as you guys age.
Correct. Yeah. So as we get older, it's going to become a bigger deal and we're going to need more help. And so that aid in attendance and all of those other programs will come into play too that we could apply for to get help from the VA for. So that would help quite a bit. So wouldn't it have been nice to have somebody come to you and you're having problems? This is what you got to do to get into the VA. Back when we separated from the service.
Oh yeah, that would have been much. It would have given us a lot more opportunity to muddle through the system and try to be seen and speak the right words, speak to the right person or the right agency or what have you, just to let them know, hey, these are our problems. They're unexplained.
Right.
And, we all know it's from the war. And
right.
I mean, things that were, it's unquestionable. Then they came out with that, the Gulf War Registry or something like that about that time. And so that helped move things along a little better for us, once that took place and they started recognizing that, yes, we did have a situation that all of these veterans are sick now from.
How many of them had to die to get that going, though?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we all came home, there was a lot of us that got very ill, and whether it was from the vaccines or the anthrax pills or, or being
The
gassed or
the Scud missiles being blown up over their heads.
Exactly. I mean,
by the Patriot missiles.
There was many things, or just being wounded. You know,
the burn pits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a lot of things that could have caused all these problems, and you know, they never really figured that out. Still haven't. And but we still have these problems, and mine worsen as the years go by, and you know, it's you know, it's just something that we've got to deal with. You know,
there's a burn pit registry. Brian's asking.
Yeah, Brian's asking, can you touch on the smoke inhalation or burn pit registry?
I'm just learning about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a burn pit registry for veterans who served over in the region of the Gulf that qualify, if they've been there, qualify for the registry. And what they want to do is they want to track your health, just like when they did the Gulf War syndrome. They want to track your health and see if you have any conditions currently, or if they over time, you start to experience some of these other issues, maybe cancers or things like that from being exposed to the burn pits. You can go online and Google that, and you can get your name into that. I'm on both registries, Gulf War veteran, the Gulf War syndrome, and also for the burn pit registry. And the burn pit registry is the same, goes back to 1990 as the Gulf War. When we burn our trash and burn everything, it's for everybody that ever stepped foot over in that region during that period of time as well, all the way up till pretty much 2009 at least, if not even further. So,
and I'd like to recommend, not everybody has Apple TV, but Jon Stewart he's a comedian from the 80s. He's aged. He has a show, and his very first show that premiered a week ago. Anyway, it was on the burn pits and him pushing for questions and being answered. And it was very enlightening to me. And so now I'm learning we need to get him on that registry. So I would his podcast, the show, if you guys can get into Apple TV, but it's phenomenal.
Yep, and that's what we're trying to do here too, is get that information out, and then be able to get some, once we get a group of people listening and talking to us on this show, get an audience and a following, then we can start to bring on some people that can carry some weight for us and be able to talk directly to the government that we have, our representatives, to be able to fight some of this stuff for us.
Well, if there's any way you can get into Jon Stewart's world, he's in it, and he's in it deep. And anyway.
Yep, we'd love to do that. Brian says another cause I was told was the plastic water bottles that they left for us sitting in the sun in 120-degree weather, causing the chemicals in the plastic to break down, which we then consume by drinking. Yeah, that's true. And that was our only source of water. So everything that we drank was exposed to that. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. And since we're talking about drinking water, let's talk about potable water on the bases. They've found unhealthy levels of all kinds of chemicals in the water on most military bases that are around the world. And so that explains some of the issues that people are having with cancers and things like that. And one of the ones that VA finally acknowledged was the Camp Lejeune problem that they had with the gasoline leaking into the ground and then going into the groundwater, and then that coming up into the faucets and everything else with birth defects and cancers and all kinds of stuff. And only being there 30 days is all it takes for you to qualify for benefits, because they determined that 30 days of exposure to those chemicals in that water was bad enough to create those things for you for life. So let's think about all the other bases that have had gasoline, because we have so many different types of fuels and things that we're exposed to while we're there. So, what was that?
Well, I was just reminding him because we're still, I don't know, trying to figure it out. It's sad, but he had a couple of years where he's perfectly healthy, but then his lungs were burning. He could hardly breathe. And then, I mean, it doesn't really seem to be a problem anymore, but I think back to my 20-something self and him, and we had no answers.
Right.
And now I'm wondering if it was some of that, and watching the shows on it and researching. I mean, because in the burn pits, there's trash, there's plastic, there's computer programs, there's body parts, there's feces, and these guys have to stir it, and then it's doused in airplane fuel,
Mm-hmm.
and then lit on fire. I mean, it's just not what, packages of food and MRE packages, which in and of itself is plastic. So, but I was shocked at what is put in those pits.
Oh yeah. And the people that usually got the duty of stirring them were the ones that are not a top performers, shall I say? I'm sure there's other names for them, but we won't go there right now. So, yeah. So
I never got the privilege.
No, never got the privilege of stirring it. We had plenty of those guys to take care of that when we were in. So that's a for sure thing. So, but still, even with them being the ones that were directly exposed, being next to the pit itself,
sleeping next to it.
It's you breathe it in because it's right by you. It's right around you. There's nothing else that you can't escape it because you can't run away. You can't travel away from there. You're stuck there. And so we all were inhaling all of that. And so if you think about that, that's pretty disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
There could have been a better way to get rid of trash, but how do you do that?
Move it to a different location, at least. You know what I mean? I don't have.
Well, over there's sand. You dig a hole, bury it. But hey, yeah.
Well, back then we also threw bags of trash off the back of the ship, so on the way there. Back in the day.
In and of itself is bad too. I mean, yeah.
So, that's the purpose of this show, is to talk about this stuff and to have conversations about, what it was like and how important this information is, and getting this information to people who are just recently getting out, or people who tried at one time but didn't understand the process and were denied, or that it's cumbersome process, and that you got to understand how to do it for you to be successful. And so I want to be able to break down those to be able to do it.
Yeah.
That's what cargo pockets were for, Brian said, for the trash.
Somebody needs to invent like a big mobile incinerator of some sort, and it contained, and it makes me crazy to think that it can come down to a tiny bit of whatever.
I don't know how they do it in today's military, but that is the way it was done.
I think
back when we
Zach's
were
talked
in there.
about it too, and he's only been out.
I don't remember, but
10 years.
But so to muddle through the VA system, all right. So if you've got say you have PTSD, say you don't know that, right? Because nobody's diagnosed you, nobody's talked to you, but you know that you are a hothead. You just don't play well with others, and you go to the VA system. There is going to be lots of triggering points there, and you don't even know what those mean until you're starting to get care for your PTSD. But that system is very tough to go through. But if other veterans could help the younger veterans that do have these problems, and help them get into that system, and help them with the trigger points or whatever, or if the VA would recognize, hey, we have some veterans that could have trigger points, and be able to help them work through the system, make it as comfortable as possible for them to get through the system. We realize that you have certain ways you got to do things, and that makes sense when it's a big corporation like it is, or a big operation like it is. But if you have a guy that walks in and he's got a total attitude because he just got given the runaround, but there's no one there to help him, he'll probably never come back. He'll probably be one of the 22 a day, and that needs to be stopped, and but yeah, so.
Well, there's been instances now that you brought that up, Jason, there's been instances where veterans have realized that something's wrong and they've gone in to get help, and they've been told to come in and get help, and they go there and then they're not helped. And just like you said, several times waiting, or like Brian had, and that they've actually gone out in the parking lot and become one of the 22 right on the grounds of the VA. And it's because they didn't get the help that they needed. They were at the end of their rope and they didn't take care of them. So.
Okay. So one thing I went through which was very shocking to me when I first found out that I had something wrong with me mentally, was just a few years ago. I was at a VA appointment, and just the guy that I was sent in there to see was, to me, was dressed like a clown. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't dressed like a clown. He looked really funny and off to me. And he was, his questions to me were just totally ignorant, if you will. They were belittling to me, and I'm trying to explain to him, no, you don't understand. I'm in a lot of pain. I can barely walk. And to tell me that it's in my head, it really upset me, and I didn't know what to do. They sent me to the Suicide Prevention Center, or what is it called in the VA? Is it suicide prevention, or where you go to see a psychologist? Psych ward. I don't know, but
division.
They sent me there. They had to get my permission. I says, well, yeah, I guess I do need help. I don't know what's going on. They sent me in there, and I sit in this waiting room with people just moving, and I'm totally freaked out. And then when somebody does come to talk to me, I'm trying to figure out, I'm not a kid. Don't talk to me like, are you okay? Or
right.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Right.
But
that's why I'm here.
The start of my care for it. And so each time I would get more bullheaded till finally I agreed to call one of the counselors. And so I called. I ended up leaving a message. And this is something that other guys might have experienced too. Mm-hmm. But I ended up leaving a message. I got a phone call 2 weeks later from them. Hey, I understand you need help. And I called that guy everything in the book, told him what a piece of crap he was, and hung up on him. Because 2 weeks, I was at my end. 2 weeks took to call me. And that's not care. That's not looking out for guys that they know are like me, walking around our society, being triggered and at their lowest point in life, And fortunately, I didn't take my life. I didn't run into the cars that I was driving down the road with like I wanted to at times. I didn't, I didn't hurt myself or anybody else, thank goodness, But
I should have gone. I can't remember why. One of the times, I don't know if it was this time.
These were during my cancer checkups that this happened.
Yes, so I had stopped going, but then, anyway, one of them, I should have been there. One of the visits, he was told by Twin Clinic that no visitors because of COVID could go.
Oh, that was early on, yeah.
So I didn't go, and I was just like, text me call me, if you need something, let me know. So he was triggered when he was up there, and they escorted him down to this. And they're all asking him, why is your wife not with you? And he said, what do you mean? We were told from the clinic in Twin that she couldn't come, and you're telling me she could have been here? So again, miscommunication just from hospital versus clinic. And I should have just been, I didn't have a lot of moxie going on then. I was stressed. And so I didn't want to fight it. And so I thought, well, I can't go. I'll just be at home. And I regretted that, because when he came home, I also had to convince him that what this doctor was saying was, when he was trying to tell him that his brain was causing pain in his body, but fibromyalgia, but he gave him the impression that it was all in his head, which usually means you're crazy.
Right.
That's code.
Yeah.
So he's triggered because he's not understanding. So I actually had to sit down with him and say, no, listen to me. I said, I take antidepressant because there's something wrong in my head. No, it'd be like saying there's something wrong in your arm if you have a cyst in there. And so I had to distinguish to him the difference between crazy and something wrong in the brain with his body.
So if my wife would have been able to come with me, she has always been my support.
He would have been calm.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have.
Yeah. She's always been my support.
And there's a lot of pressure on those of us, because I could have an off day, or I could be like, I don't need to go again. It's like every month or whatever. And so then we feel guilt, and then we have issues, and
Well, you got issues just dealing with Jason on a regular basis. I mean, my wife could tell you the same thing.
Jason,
she didn't have PTSD before she met me, but I'm sure she probably does now. I mean, it's been a roller coaster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and you got to use humor. You got to be around people, whether it's family or not. Sometimes family's the worst to be around.
Right. Exactly.
Because they want you to be what their picture of who they are.
Right, of who you were, and they want you to maintain that.
Where somebody that lives with them understands that they're a different person.
Right.
And so it's difficult, but
I want to take a step. Sorry, I want to take a step back, and I want to talk a little bit about, you had said, muddling through this process and letting the younger veterans know about this, but really some of the ones that really need to hear this are our Vietnam vets or people from the Gulf era. And the reason why I say that is because they're the ones that struggled as much as we did with this process of getting help. And mental health was not a conversation back then, or was taboo to talk about. It was a career ender, those types of things for when we were in, or people who were in the service before us. So let's talk about some of the things that they might be experiencing that may lead them to want to get checked out for possible diagnosis of depression or anxiety or PTSD, or something that has to do with something wrong with your brain. Jason, what would you say some of the things are that you experienced when you got out, after you were able to get some treatment and understand what you were going through, and you look back? What were some of those things that you were going through?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would say it was over the last almost 30 years and just led up to a basic total collapse of my mental stability. And when I was younger, I was filled with anger, rage, bad choices, you name it. And I filled a lot of that with work. I would work around the clock. I didn't care, I consumed my thoughts, my every moment that I was awake with work. And that's what I focused on. And when it came to a stop, when my work came to a stop, and I had to I had to, I had to sit back, if you will, because I had nothing to do because I didn't have work to go to. That's when the mental illness that I had crept in and started overwhelming me and overwhelming my judgments and making me very paranoid about everything and making me very, I don't know if I would say depressed, but making me like a depressed, in a depressed state that I just wasn't thinking clearly. And gosh, being triggered about every little thing. But I didn't realize it until my lifestyle changed. And that's when it came aboard. So guys that are starting to retire or just recently retired or are getting ready to come into retirement, if you know that you've always tried to fill everything with work or a certain hobby just to try to stay focused, and your world's going to change, you probably need to start reaching out and maybe reading some books or watching some videos on what other guys go through and how they get get involved in the system, the VA system, to get help when needed. And for me, I have an open slot to go to the counselor every week, and as long as I can make it there, I go. Sometimes we have something to talk about, sometimes we don't, but at least I have that avenue to go and sit down with him, and yeah.
So, some of the things that I experienced now looking back, and I can put a name to it, some of my symptoms were hypervigilance, nightmares, not having the ability to control my thoughts, to keep them from going to deep, dark places, irritability, the fact that even somebody breathing too loud close by would send me to a point of rage that I couldn't even sit by them. And then try to stop myself from taking that out on somebody is a whole nother thing. If you're having outbursts because of your anger, if you are self-medicating to feel some kind of pain relief, if you are self-medicating, taking drugs, drinking alcohol, doing something that you shouldn't be doing to an excessive level to be able to manage that. These are the things that were definite red flags for my behavior of what was going on. If you're making decisions that are in the moment, that are all about your fun or just wouldn't be the right decision if you were in a rational state of mind. Those types of things are signs that you are needing some help. And it's important. I mean, I'm somebody who can say that what you've talked about, Jason, about coming to a point where work ends, that you go through a change, and that change is, if you don't fill your life with something else, you're going to be left wanting more, or you're going to go back to those days where you experienced all this stuff again, and you're going to have to try to find a way to manage it. And I went through that. Once I received my 100%, I'm like, yep, don't have to work, relax. But I have to have a little something to do to occupy myself. Otherwise, I'm going to be going crazy. And I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be self-medicating. I don't want to be the guy that my kids never want to talk to because of who I was. And so it's important to get a hold of these things and get some help for it. And there is help for it. So are you willing to talk a little bit about, once you made that decision and how long it took for you to actually get from the bulldog to irritable and all that to where we are today to be able to have some conversations. Not saying that being triggered doesn't happen occasionally, but how long was that process?
Well, gosh, it was a few years for me, just because of what we had experienced with the close of our business and whatnot, and there was just so many pressures on me, and it wasn't until we finally walked away from all of that and we got a fresh start, if you will, that I've been able to finally breathe. I'm not completely paranoid like I was before. I wasn't, I don't have to watch the driveway anymore. That's a relief, I'm not worried about somebody coming up to our house, knocking on the door. I mean, that takes a long time to recover from, and our situation is a little bit different than most, because of the close of our business, but it takes a while to start turning around, and what did it for me was this counselor and seeing him every week and him just explaining everything to me of why I'm experiencing what I am. And then just trying to grasp it each day, each time that something triggers me, and realize why it's triggering me, and try not to get triggered so much.
It's still the process.
Yeah.
Because self-medication is still an issue.
It is. Yeah.
And being married to someone that he used to do that before the war. So, I think it's still a process. I don't think we're through it yet, but as a wife, you want what's best, but you can't make, especially a Marine, do anything he doesn't want to do.
Right. And I think that's for all of us. I think that the self-medicating is right there at the edge for all of us. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to hold on to.
It becomes a habit, not just a trigger.
Right. But the one thing that I want to say is you're not going to get to the end of this. It's always going to be a battle. And the reason why I say that is because you still have triggers. You still have nightmares. You still have all these things that are going to crop up and create these issues for you. You have tools to do it, but there's no cure. There's no guaranteed cure for it. It's still going to happen. And with that, we all know that there's days and there's periods of time that you can just be fantastic and everything can be great, but there's always going to be the possibility that something's going to set you off. I know that that's the case for me. I could speak for myself about that is the case for me, that I still have to worry about. And I'm sure, Jason, it's a struggle sometimes for you as well. But what I want people to know is that I didn't choose to be this way. If I could change and make the decisions that make my wife happy all the time and not be able to struggle with PTSD or nightmares or depression or my hypervigilance or any of these other things that are outside pressures coming into me, if I can control that better, I would love that to be the case. But it's the mental illness, it's the mental injury that doesn't allow me to think the same as my wife or my loved ones who expect me to think like they do or to respond like they do.
Right.
I can't do that. I try, but I can't do it. And that's being honest and that's being real. And I don't know.
And that's why I call veterans' life is usually small people in the group, because not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone in this day and age cares enough. Not everyone wants to see anything through. They would rather just check it off as, nope, he's a horrible person or she's a horrible person, and boom, out of my life. It's just like cancel culture. Here we are.
Yep.
And it's been that way more than just recently, and that's why it's hard for those of us that do stick it out, because
they get to put up with me.
there's so much
And
love.
me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and then
It's we don't mean to be this way. We really don't.
and we know that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Those of us that stick it out know that. I mean,
Yeah. It's hard for people to understand and cope with veterans that struggle with mental illness or mental injury and self-medication and those types of things, because they want them to think logically, rationally, and it's very difficult to think on all cylinders all the time to do that, just because of the things that have happened to us. And so it's changed the wiring of our brains to actually change our responses to those things. And people don't understand that. And that is a scientific fact. You can go get a CAT scan and get it figured out. They'll show you exactly what's going on with your brain. And they'll show you the difference between a normal brain, normal being what they classify as healthy without mental injury or mental illness, and then your brain, and put them side by side and show you the way that the synapses and everything else go through and change. So thank you for, I just wanted to say thank you to Heidi for sharing that and being vulnerable for that. And you too, Jason. So, I mean,
time.
What's that?
I said, I'm mad at you because you made me cry this time.
Well, that's okay. You'll get over it.
She will. She will. She will.
But I make my wife cry all the time when we do stuff too, so don't worry about it. You'll get over it.
Yeah, I don't see her sitting next to you.
No, she won't do it. She wants to. Somebody's got to take care of the 3 kids while I'm doing this.
So what some people don't realize, and my wife does about me, is there could be a couple of loud bangs outside, and I'm instantly back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Especially this whole last year with mask. Well, we were gassed. Yeah. I remember being gassed. Those are all triggers for me.
Yeah.
And I try my best. And that's all I could do. And at least with my wife understanding me, we're able to get through this life, And I have a huge support system with her, and I'm very thankful for her to be by my side for almost 32 years now.
Yeah. I think there's a special place in heaven for you guys that stick it in with us. Because you don't deserve the life that you've got. So, I say that to my wife all the time. She's a saint. She does not deserve the life that she's been given to be with me. There are long periods of great periods of time, but there are still those other ones.
Get back to. I mean, it's not one-sided. It's not.
Right.
There's something about you, apparently, just like there's something about him. So it's just about commitment. God reminds me all the time, I made a commitment and I'm going to see through it.
Right. Yep. So we're going to wrap up the show here. What are your final passing words for today? What do we want to make sure we say before we turn the show off today?
Well, like I've stated just a moment ago, I mean, having a support group, a support wife for me is one of the best things one of the best things in my life that's been able to help me through the last 30 years, And if you're struggling to get seen by the VA, the county rep around here, around our area here in Twin Falls, Idaho, is a great guy to go see, and he's a good support system too, and he can help you through the VA system to get you the help that you need and take a lot of that pressure off you. So reach out to our county VA reps, and they're there for us. They're there to help us and help us through the system. You're not alone. We're all in this, trying to go through the VA system. We're all in the same situation, and just never give up on it. And keep fighting. We've all earned it. We signed that blank check to our to the United States of America for our life, even. And when we came back, we have some issues, and we just need to be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. We do. I want to throw this in there. I want to say thank you to Delight for sponsoring the show. Folks, look up Delight CBD products. It's a hemp CBD, especially those of us that struggle with mental health issues, panic attacks, that kind of stuff. This will calm you down, right, and put you in the right state of mind. So look these up, give them a look over, maybe order their product and give it a try. I want to thank Brandon Croucher for who's the CEO of the company, for sponsoring this show and giving me the opportunity to bring some of this kind of stuff to veterans, the talk of benefits and real life that happens after service with the rest of us veterans. And I want to thank you guys, Jason and Heidi, for being here today and sharing your story again and more of it and going through our show today. I want to say thanks for that. And I want to leave the show today by saying that it doesn't matter what branch of service you served in. For this show to come and listen and get information from this. I know I gave people a hard time the first time I introduced myself about branches of service and that the Marine Corps is the only service and that kind of stuff. That's just typical veteran banner. I don't want anybody to feel left out or hurt by that. We acknowledge everybody who's given a blank check to the country, whether they're a reservist, National Guard, Air Force, Coast Guard, whoever it is. We want to get you help. We want to talk you through some of these things that you can benefit from. So please reach out. Please watch the show. If you have any questions of me, or if you want to have something discussed on the show, you can go to our email address, which is the victortangoshow@gmail.com, and send us what you'd like to do. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and we're going to say a big hoorah!
Hoorah!
All right, let's get out of here, Fernando.